Welcome to Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country show, home to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Monument and Sequoia National Forest, and the charming historic agricultural communities that make up Tulare County. So welcome, everyone. Today we're excited because we're going to the Sequoias. And you know, we love that region, home to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Monument, Sequoia National Forest, and the communities that make up Tulare County. So please go look in the episode notes. Not only are you going to see everyone's links that are on the show today, who are all from Sequoia Tourism Council. The main link for that is discoverthesequoias.com. So when you click through to that link, you'll be able to download the visitor guide and find out all about the communities, the parks, everything. But today, we also get to launch our digital California Sequoia Country podcast magazine. So you'll have a retrospective of last year's podcast episodes. So you can listen in about what's going on in fall, winter, depending on when you're planning. And of course, we'll keep up with all the podcasts as we go every month. So check that out. We're excited about it. So ladies, we've got so many guests on the show today. We're going to start with Suzanne Bianco over at Visit Visalia. How are you, Suzanne?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having us today.
Hey, excited. So are you feeling the joys of spring yet, or are you still like feeling cold like the rest of the country?
When the sun is shining, I feel the excitement for spring just around the corner. And I'm seeing little bits of it in the fields right now. I'm starting to see some buds on trees, so it's a really exciting time.
Ooh, I love it. Because don't all the like nut trees start blooming, like the almonds and everything?
Yeah, it's really amazing. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, it's really starting to be beautiful outside.
Everybody go to visitvisalia.com. So we're going to go over to Holly Strite, who is out in Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. Welcome back. How are you?
Thanks, Lisa. I'm good. Happy to be here as always.
How are the parks? Did you guys get snow?
No, we do not have a lot of snow.
I see you guys got some snow over the winter.
We did before the holidays. So over the holiday break, Christmas, New Year's, we got a lot of snow. And since then, we haven't really gotten any snow. There is still some ice on some of the trails, but not a lot of snow in the park.
And as soon as this airs, it will snow, right?
We're hoping that we'll get some more snow. We would love some.
Yeah. So everyone, if you go to nps.gov/SEKI, that is where you want to check out the parks every time you go. And also the Sequoia National Forest and Giant Sequoia National Monuments. You want to check those links out before you head out there so you know if you have to put jewelry on your tires. Is that right? Do we call it jewelry? Yeah, you're just, because you think about putting chains on tires, I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, oh, if it's a bracelet, you just kind of clip it on. It's easier, right?
Yeah, that does sound nice.
Yeah, that does sound good. Well, we also are going over to Tulare. Tulare Chamber of Commerce is represented by Julia Dix. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing good. And everyone can go to tularechamber.org to learn what's going on. But apparently, you know, Tulare County is really being well represented this month of February and in April with some big ag. There's a World Ag Expo and then the California Farm Equipment Show coming up in April. So all the farmers of the world are coming to your town. Are you ready for them?
Yes. This is something that we look forward to every year. So it's a big deal, and we have people from all over the world come. So it's great.
Oh, that is exciting. It's really exciting. You can go to worldagexpo.com as well. Also in the episode notes, we did do an interview with Donette and Megan about the World Ag Expo. So I'm linking that there so you can get full on information. We're also going to Alida Verduzco Silva, and she is from the Tulare County Resource Management Agency. And you can go to their website, discovertularecounty.com, because they really represent all of Tulare County, right? So welcome back, Alida.
Thank you so much for having me. And, you know, we are ready for the Ag Expo. This is a top performing ag region. And one thing I hear a lot when people come here is, I didn't know that's how food grew. I didn't know that's what it looked like when, you know, oranges were on trees or grapes were on vines. So folks coming this way, like Suzanne said, they're going to start seeing blossoms. And it's just such a scenic time to come to Tulare County. It's a beautiful time to visit.
Yeah, we're getting into that end of winter, going into summer, that little, you know, time frame when one day you'll see snow and then next thing you'll see a flower and then maybe some ice and then another flower, you know. But throughout the entire time, there's good food. Do that. But I wanted to ask you, Alita, while you're here, just since you represent all of Tulare County, can you give us a short overview of how big Tulare County it is and how many communities actually make up the foothills of what our parks and forests are?
Sure, definitely. That's a good question. Travelers coming to Tulare County can expect a region that it might take 2 hours to go from the north of the county to the south of the county. It includes communities off of the 99, like Goshen, right out of Visalia, that can take you straight into the giant sequoias, into the Three Rivers community, which is really a very big gateway to the sequoias. It's right before you hit the gate. Then we have communities like Springville, which are at the base of the Sequoia National Forest. And they're also home to Balch Park. And right now it's closed for the winter. So like you said, folks should check our road conditions. And then southbound, we have the communities of Pixley, Tipton. We also have Early Mart further down as you get closer to Bakersfield. So Tulare County really is centrally located right between Fresno and Bakersfield. We're about 5,000 square miles to discover, and 50% of that land is public lands. So that's something very
Wow.
special about us. Those giant sequoias really take up a lot of space, and it shows in the way that our communities celebrate that kind of backdrop.
Wow. So 50% federal land, the giant sequoias take that over, but it's also one of the few places you can see them in their natural habitat in the world, right, Holly? These
Yeah,
giant sequoias.
that's right. They have a very specific habitat where they grow. So they only grow on the western side of the Sierra Nevada mountain range and within a certain elevation.
Okay. So I've seen some in different places, but they were kind of put there, or the ones that I've seen, like in Colorado, are prehistoric and
Mhm.
petrified, but they're really
Yeah.
not scared because they're still giants.
From our last count, we counted more than 5,500 sequoias here in Tulare County. That's the count we're going with. And so many of them are in the parks. And like you said, so many of them are in the forest area. So there's a lot to see here.
Wow, wow. I think what's so interesting about today too is we also have to acknowledge that it's African American History Month and we have a lot of Black history in Tulare County. And when you were talking about the different communities, Alita, one of them leads me to Allensworth, which is a state park, right? And that's something we should talk about because that was actually its own Black community at one point. Is it still kind of looked at as still, even though it's a state park, it's something for people to go and see what used to be a very thriving community. It's also near the wetlands, right? The National Wildlife Refuge. And so this is a good time of year to go to both.
Definitely. We still have an African American community there. The community has changed a bit. There are other
Sure.
folks living there as well, but it's still such a wonderful historic place to see historic craftsman homes. And when you visit the park, you can see what the settlement looked like in the past. There are some homes that have been restored, and those are things that visitors could really enjoy. And the wildlife refuge, like you mentioned, is also a great place to visit. Those are things on the southern region of Tulare County. So oftentimes visitors might hear when they pop in, we might mention the South County and the North County of Tulare County, and it's because it's so large. We're trying to give people some direction also that they can navigate. And then you have communities toward the center of Tulare County, like Strathmore. Strathmore has an awesome place to stop by called Orange Works. It is citrus season in Tulare County. Visitors coming to Tulare County right now are going to see just so many trees with fruit ready for picking, from oranges, navels, valencias to mandarins, and Orange Works is such a good place. They also have a presence in Visalia, so there are many places to try their sandwiches and have some of their iconic orange ice cream.
I like this. Now, Holly, going over to the national parks, and we've talked a lot about the general's history, but then you have a very famous brigadier, which I think should be very famous, Charles Young. We've got to bring him up this month, right? Tell everybody a little bit, because he's got his own tree too, which is important.
Yeah, it's really important. So Brigadier General Charles Young, he was the first African American superintendent of a national park. And in 1903, he came over with the Buffalo Soldiers, and they did so much work for Sequoia National Park in making it accessible for visitors to come up and actually see it. So a road that used to come into the park, now we go up through Three Rivers, and through the foothills, which you still used to do that, but it was a different road, and it was unbearable before they were there. People had to go in like horse carriage, and so they did a lot of work to make it more accessible, and it went up to the giant forest. So people were then able to camp up there and actually be among the sequoias. And so that was a huge contribution because people really didn't have access before Charles Young came and gave that to us.
Yeah, and he was a Buffalo Soldier before that, right?
Yes, yes. So he was a Buffalo Soldier and still, so the parks were managed by the Army before the National Park Service existed. So he was
Oh,
a Buffalo Soldier. He was the time that was
okay.
leading the Buffalo Soldiers to Sequoia. And so they did a lot of protection as well. He was kind of the initiator of working with private landowners to create bargains so that the government could purchase all of the land so that it was reserved for public enjoyment. It didn't happen while he was here for that summer, but he laid the foundation for that to happen. And he also did a great job. There's a lot of articles because he was very connected with the local community of Visalia. So there's a lot of history about how he and his Buffalo Soldiers did a great job of keeping grazing out of the parks because that does a lot of damage to our meadows. And so people were illegally grazing on public, on protected lands. And so during the time that he was here, everyone said that he really did a great job of, and they didn't have a lot of problems with that grazing happening in the parks.
Wow. So Suzanne, we got to go to Visalia. We heard here about Visalia and Brigadier Charles Young being connected there as well. So yeah, and your city has so much history. It's amazing to
I
me.
mean, the whole county has a lot of history here, but Visalia, as the oldest city between LA and sort of Sacramento, does have a lot of history. Outside of our office is a marker for the Butterfield stage when the stagecoach came through. That's kind of fun. The Palace Hotel, where Stephen Mather met before going on the trek through the national parks, that ultimately helped to get the National Park Service created, is just, pull doors down from our office here on Main Street. So yeah, a lot of fun history, and people can come and do the historic walking tour that we
Black Bart, come on. There's you've got all kinds. I mean, even the walking tour history is really fascinating about the architecture.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know?
lot of fun. So we have free maps in our office. People can just, if they have an hour and a half, they can take the walking tour through downtown and learn a lot about this region's history.
I think that's a good thing to do at this time of year because if it gets a little chilly, jump into a coffee shop or go to a Mexican restaurant and have a margarita. It'll be warm in there so you can have the margarita and pretend you're at the beach. Sounds
Absolutely.
good. And Lita would say we have to have tacos, right? I know.
We have a lot of great food here in Tulare County. We're still, hosting our Tulare County Taco Trail on our Discover Tulare County app. So there are a lot of places to find the best locations to eat. Visit Visalia has a coffee trail, and there's just so much to guide your foodie journey. If you're a foodie, there's plenty to see, plenty to eat.
Now, I think, Julia, you might have to do like a shopping trail in Tulare. I think that's coming up next because you've got like the outlet stores, right? And then you've got thrift stores, right? And then antiques as well.
We do. And we have a lot of really nice thrift stores in downtown Tulare. And in fact, downtown Tulare is really starting to take off. We have a lot of new restaurants coming in. One of the newest places is the 26th Hour, which is a speakeasy in downtown Tulare. You walk in, and it's almost like this 1920s vibe. It's really great. And kind of talking about the World Ag Expo, which brings in hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world. One thing that I like to say as someone who hasn't grown up in ag, because I'm not originally from this area, is, I've learned that if you like to eat, drink, or wear clothes, then you have a stake in agriculture. And just learning about where our food comes from and how all of that works and the hardworking people is incredible. And so coming to that, which is February 10th through the 12th, and then checking out what downtown Tulare has to offer, what the outlets have to offer, what everything, around here, and not just around here, but, going up to the Sequoias, checking out Three Rivers and all the different communities around here. It's just a great time to really explore the beauty of the area.
Yeah, I love that. And you think about like you've got a great museum too for history, which is cool. And so everyone can do that. So go see a movie at the Galaxy Theater. So you've got all these ways to balance whatever happens with the weather. And if you're in the national park, you could go camping and some people snow camp, right, Heidi? Holly, I don't know why I called you Heidi. Why?
Yeah.
That happens. People actually camp in the snow.
Yeah. There's a couple of really cool ways to camp in the winter in Sequoia and Kings Canyon. So our campground that's open year round that gets snow is Visalia Campground up in Grant Grove. And then we also have really cool areas like the Pear Lake Ski Hut. People can get reservations through our park partners, Sequoia Parks Conservancy, and have accommodations out by Pear Lake, which is a gorgeous alpine lake that you can get to, but need some skill that you'd have to get to by cross country skiing, or if you're just going out for a hike, you can go out with snowshoes. Um, yeah, and then wilderness permits are available. So you should definitely know how to camp in the snow if you're going to get a wilderness permit, but you could get one for Pear Lake and go out by yourself without the ski hut too, and that would be a nice time.
I know, Suzanne's ready to do that, right? Or she says, I've got the hotels in my backyard. That
Well,
doesn't.
what I'm thinking is I'd rather maybe hang out on the rooftop at the Darling Hotel around the fire pit and sip a nice, frosty something rather than sleep in the frosty somethings.
Or there's ice cream. I know there's good ice cream at Rosa Brothers, right? Where you're talking about all the farming. So we've got that going as well. I know, as Suzanne, you said there's a lot starting up. I wanted to touch on really the flowers coming up, and because the nature, I love talking in advance as well because it gives people time to plan, especially if you're on the other side of the country or around the world somewhere. So when do we really need to know when people need to come out to see flowers?
Well, Expo is a really great starting point. When that happens, we know that things are going to start to turn in our orchards and fields. So starting in mid-February through mid-March, even the end of March, depending on Mother Nature, all of those blossoms we talked about a little earlier, the almond trees, the stone fruit like peaches and nectarines, all of those trees start to set those beautiful pink and white flowers. And it's just a carpet of pink and white as you look out over these orchards and groves. So it's really amazing time to do that. People love to come and take pictures of themselves in the blossoms. And we have a little trail, a little map that helps visitors guide themselves through the county and where things are growing and where they can best see the blossoms at this time of year. Shortly after the almonds and fruit trees, then the oranges start to set their blossom, which are really fragrant. And so that's a really great time as well.
Nice, nice. And then the wildflowers. That's the
And
other part.
yeah, wildflowers are really amazing. And it's kind of fun how they sort of they start down low and they move up into the park. So down here on the valley, we can start to see them at some of the preserves that Sequoia Riverlands Trust manages, like Kauai Oaks Preserve or Dry Creek Preserve. Those are really beautiful places to see the wildflowers blooming. Lewis Hill is another one of their preserves. And this time of year, they open the preserve. They only open it a couple of times a year to protect the environment for this adobe lily. There are 2 lilies that only grow in this area. So they're very careful about monitoring that land. They open it up to the public when that lily is starting to bloom, and that's going to be on February 28th. Photographers and flower lovers just flock to the area to try and see that one time of year event. So that's pretty exciting.
Man, very cool. And stargazing, I know that you sent me a note that stargazing, it's like you don't need to wait till the big event that happens in September, right? We can start doing it now.
Yeah, absolutely. The park partner, Sequoia Parks Conservancy, offers lots of experiences, but one of the things that they offer is stargazing tours out at Kauai Lake. That's just outside the park boundary, and they can help people navigate the night sky. And it's an hour-long, very inexpensive thing to do, and it's a really wonderful way to learn more about the night sky and the importance of the night sky too. Like we don't, I think, understand what the importance of night sky is to humans, to plant life, to the animal life.
It's the only way you're going to see a wolf. No, I'm just kidding. you know, but the thing is, I think we forget that. I know we've touched on this before. Is like parks after dark are like really amazing, right? To have this whole other experience. So I wanted to touch on one thing is that I know, Holly, that you have in the park service different fee-free days. And so you have one coming up, right?
That's right. On February 16th, President's Day, it's a fee-free entrance day, so people can come into the parks for free.
That is awesome, I think, especially for families. And so I wanted to go around the room here and see what are some other things families can look at doing to kind of save some money on their travels. Because I think we're all still like, come on, we got to have a break here. And I'm really focusing on the family aspect because that is, I think if you've got kids, it can add up a little bit. So, they're paying for hotels or a bed and breakfast, mostly a hotel or Airbnb kind of thing. So let's look at some of those things. Alita, do you have any ideas for what folks can do? that is free in Tulare County. I think there's a lot of parks and all kinds of
Sure.
stuff.
Definitely. And all of the 10 Tulare County parks, they're in our Discover Tulare County app. But we recognize that sometimes you just want to sightsee. With
Yeah.
the region this beautiful, who wouldn't want to? So if you're here, the community of Exeter has 32 murals where
Mm.
no purchase is necessary. It's a quaint and charming downtown, very traditional downtown, Western hospitality, absolutely expected and delivered. If folks have some time on the way to the Sequoias, they could detour in Exeter. They could stop by in Farmersville, stretch their legs at one of their city parks. On the way to Sequoias, Wood Lake has the botanical gardens. And most of these communities have some historic aspect to them, just as we were talking about Allensworth and that community being founded in 1908 by Colonel Allen Allensworth. There's a lot to discover. We have the Tulare County Museum as well. And within the Tulare County Museum here in Visalia at Mooney Grove, there's a little town that people can visit if they want to see what Tulare County used to look like 100 years ago. There are buildings that have been transported into the park. There's a lovely pond that people can enjoy. So those are things that are really at no cost. And beyond that, we also have Lindsay, the community of Lindsay, that also has a museum. And then we have Dinuba to the north that has a lot to offer as well. And then Porterville has their own parks, and a county park to enjoy there would be Bartlett Park. So if folks just wanted to park somewhere, get their dog some steps as well, those would be places at low cost. And we have two lakes, Kauai Lake and Success Lake. Those are places that families can also just take in the sights and enjoy a little bit of walking or running. There are many cycling paths throughout the region. As far as the hikes, like the Lewis Preserve hike, that's by donation, so that's something that families can also explore. I've enjoyed that event the last several years, and I really love it. And so there's a lot to do as far as just sightseeing and taking a look. You know, and maybe Suzanne can speak more to this. As far as the Butterfield plaque, there are a lot of scavenger hunts throughout the region. So that's something that also can be enjoyed at no cost. So that's what we're trying to do with the Discover Tulare County app, provide kind of some ideas as to where points of interest lie and make it easier for families to find those in a curated way. We know there's Yelp, we know there's Google, there are so many resources, and this is just one more tool that visitors can download and residents alike when they're here in Tulare County.
Yeah, and also go to discoverthesequoias.com and download the guide. I wanted to go to you, Julia. What something free? I know where people can go, but I want to see if we're going to have the same one that people can do.
Well, what came to mind was our newly improved Zumwalt Park, which has a great playground. It has a structure that's actually designed to look just like the USS Zumwalt. And so it's got a zip line and all sorts of great, kind of, I would say, state-of-the-art playground equipment, as well as a splash pad for families to enjoy. And it's right next to City Hall. And I've heard people working there say that they see families playing there all day long, every day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because kids, you gotta let them go stretch their legs out before you take them to the restaurants and things like that. The other cool thing is we were talking about the World Ag Expo, and I know you guys are running like the World Ag. You're running like the international business, hub during that.
Yes.
But the other side, it's at the international, the actual agri center. And isn't that a good place for families to go? I know during the World Ag Expo, that's going to be a little different, but you can go with your kids. It's a good thing. But Ag Ventures is something that family could do. Right?
Yes, Ag Ventures is a museum within the International Agri Center that is geared towards, children, showing just different facets about agriculture and and just educating children again on, the things that are important to us. For kids, I'll omit the drinking, just the eating and wearing clothes.
There we go. Going over to you, Suzanne and Visalia, what would you say would be a fun? I mean, you got the free thing with the walking tour, right? What else would you recommend for families?
There's a lot of outdoor art that you can explore for free. The murals is, throughout the county, there's murals. There are even painted fire hydrants that are fun for kids to do kind of a little scavenger hunt and try and find them all. There are museums. Most museums are free of charge, so that's something wonderful to go see. There are the farmers markets. Stop by a farmers market and see what's growing, what's in season right now, and that's a really great way to get to know Tulare County a little more. We are very seasonal with our fruits and vegetables, so it's a lot of fun to go to a farmer's market. Lots of things to see at a farmer's market. So those are some things that I would think would be a fun way to do. The parks, of course, are great. They do have lots of dog parks, so there's fun places to take your little four-legged friends.
I think that is so cool, like the fire hydrants. I've seen them in communities. It's just such a fun way to take something that's just like the iconic boring kind of thing, like
Mhm.
electrical boxes and stuff like that being painted. It takes something and beautifies, and celebrates the arts. And I think that's a fun thing about the entire region is you can go to any town and like Three Rivers, don't they still do their first Saturday, which is a free event where you travel around to the art studios and like even the restaurants and stuff have artist demonstrations, the shops.
And most of our communities have a first Friday or first Saturday art walk. So,
Oh, cool.
and arts are really big in Tulare County. In fact, the Tulare County or the South Valley Art Tour is coming up in March. That's a lot of fun. That's when many artists open up their studios and visitors can travel from studio to studio, meeting the artists, watching them in their studio, create their pieces and learn more about their particular art. That's a really exciting thing. It's a weekend festival. Weekend of March 28th.
Oh, very cool.
In Pure Point Bar and Grill, right up above Springville, that bar and grill just opened up a gallery and they're featuring local artists who are being inspired by the sequoias nearby. They launched that in December, so there's a gallery there. Additional to that, if you travel into Tony's Taverna and Three Rivers, you're going to see Greek architecture because the way they built that whole establishment looks like a mini Santorini. So there's a lot to look at in the architecture and also in the galleries. To Suzanne's point, the Arts Consortium here is very active throughout the region. And I know in Visalia as well, there's that first Friday as well, right, Suzanne?
Yeah.
Where people could see different art galleries, but art is everywhere you go. We have such creative communities from the North County to the South County.
I wanted to go back to the parks too, Holly. What about the park ranger programs? Is that something that families should? I mean, come on, isn't that where we all kind of just start as kids, as the park
Yes.
ranger programs?
Yeah, absolutely. And also the Junior Ranger booklets are available for
Yes.
children. So like that is, I would say my number one recommendation for families is to stop at a visitor center and get a Junior Ranger activity book. It's so great. It's really open to a wide age level, and there's activities for them to do to kind of just engage their senses and curiosity in nature. And then they can get sworn in as a Junior Ranger, which is really great. And then aside from that, there are also ranger-led programs, and there's a calendar on our website that has all of the times listed for that. And then sometimes it's just a ranger's choice program. So there's a little bit of mystery, but you can show up at the location that's listed and see what the ranger wants to talk about that day. So it's up to you, whatever, choose your own adventure when you want to engage with those programs.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I want to go around and see if there's anything in specific that we might have missed out. But I mean, it's really that in between season. So I think we've given people some really cool options of being indoor, outdoor, depending on what's going on. If it's snowing, there's still so much to do. And being out in nature in the snow is also a magical thing. I mean, come on, got to make a snow angel, and in a pristine park setting. I was going to ask you, Alina, when does Balch Park reopen typically?
So it's depending on the season, depending on weather conditions. Once snow clears up on the Western Divide, that takes you up to the Giant Sequoia Monument. That opens up in the spring usually, and Balch Park is expected to reopen in the spring. As soon as it
Okay.
opens, we will provide the date so that visitors know. They could visit Tulare County Parks, the website. They have their own website. We'll send you the URL so that folks can keep posted on those developments. And then as far as road conditions, the Tulare County Resource Management Agency also supports many roadways. So that's another website people can check, as well as the National Forest website and the Caltrans website.
Yeah, there's so much. There's such a huge county and so much to do. And so if the oranges are out, that means blossoms are going to start coming around in a couple months, right?
That's right.
April. Oh boy, that's a beautiful time of year. That's a beautiful time of year. Yeah.
And in April, you could expect the Spring Festival in Porterville and the Orange Blossom Festival in Lindsay. So we're celebrating.
Well, I think you guys are always celebrating something. We never have nothing to talk about. Anything else, Julia, that we missed out? I know farm equipment show coming up in April.
Yeah, and we also have our car show in April, Cars on K. Last year we had close to 200 cars and about 8,000 attendees, and we're hoping for about the same. It is the Saturday before Easter, so we're also going to be planning a lot of Easter activities for families, and that is free to attend as well. And then I was also thinking when Alita mentioned Tony's Taverna in Three Rivers, which is a delicious Greek restaurant, we also have an amazing French restaurant here in Tulare called Eating Cafe, which is actually the only nonprofit restaurant I've heard of that they do a lot of workshops for youth and helping youth go beyond high school and college, and just a very authentic, delicious French restaurant.
Because this is the thing, we always get back to this. Tulare County not only has the world's biggest trees, and I mean the most giant, so the largest living organism, right? Am I right, Holly?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
So this is the giant. I mean, if you can't hug a whale, you can hug a tree or try, right? So well, come on. So they're huge, because you can't even take them in one photo properly. It's still, so you just got to go experience them. But they grow all this food, like I think almost 300 crops or something ridiculous. Then dairy farming as well. So cheese and butter and ice cream and all those things we really love. And then you go to farmers markets, but then the food really shares, like I think is the way to understand the multiple cultures that you have living in Tulare County. I don't even know if you can count them up, like how many different cultures live, that make up
It's
Tulare
pretty
County.
diverse, Lisa. And
Yeah, it's awesome.
we have a large Hispanic population, but then we have populations from all over the world, including a Greek population, including
French.
Asian population. So we get Laotian and Hmong food and Vietnamese food, and there's just Filipino food and
Chocolate.
anything and everything you'd want to try here.
Yeah.
We have a very large Portuguese population here in
That's
Tulare,
right.
and there's a delicious Portuguese bakery called Portuguese Delight, which has amazing sweetbread and all sorts of pastries.
And that coffee, I need some of that coffee. My gosh, that will wake you up. That's not even coffee. What is it? It's just like this little small cup of wake you up deliciousness. It does. And then they're like, would you like more? I'm like, you do not want to see me on that mode. Like I need to calm down. So that's a good thing. Visalia, Suzanne, you have a huge, and I mean, we've got to talk about the museum again because they really showcase the different cultures. I know I always bring that up, but I love that about that museum.
I like how they have revolving exhibits that do highlight the various cultures that did settle here and have impacts on our agriculture and our way of life today. Excuse me. So going to the museum and seeing whatever the highlight is a great way to learn more about our community.
And you've got all kinds of cultures in the restaurants too. Can we still get able skeevers?
Yes, you can.
Are you kidding me?
Valhalla Restaurant is still open. It's still a wonderful place to go. Very family friendly, a nice family run restaurant, and able skeevers are served every day.
See, this is why you need to go hike in the parks. I'm just telling you, when you get to Tulare County, get ready for good food, good people, good food, good nature. What more do we want? And a lot of history, right? So
Yep,
awesome destination. Everyone, discover the sequoias.com. Again, check out the links in the episode notes, including our new podcast magazine focusing on our podcast here, covering the California Sequoia Country region. Thank you all and happy February.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country Show. New episodes air every first Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You can keep up with the show at bigblendradio.com, but also plan your Tulare County escape. Go to discoverthesequoias.com.